In this tutorial, I'll be giving you a guide to adding games and applications in Smartlaunch. To start, we can go to Application Management, Applications. Here you can see some categories predefined, not just games but also programs, internet, options. From here you can add anything. You can also add categories, subcategories. For now, let's add an action game. So clicking the Add button, you can see we can add a new main category and subcategory here, or application, which is what we're going to do right now. So from the Enter Application Details screen, you can make it a game or a program. So for game, let's say League of Legends, which might be under a different category, but we're going to use action anyway. Okay, executable path. This is the path to the .exe file, and so either you memorized it or you can copy and paste it from somewhere. I'm going to type it. We can use parameters here, so I'm going to type program files 86 /riot. I'm not sure if it's Riot or Riot Games. If you're actually following this, you want to make sure. League of Legends, and I think the executable is lol.exe. And so for the working directory, this is just the directory minus exe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, everything except the exe itself, and paste it in the working directory. For arguments, I'm not sure if there are any arguments for League of Legends, but in some cases you can add additional arguments to skip an intro video or run specific things silent in the background. It's more like for customization options, so it's very useful, but that's very limited on what applications you can actually use it for. So if you had a CD image that needed to be mounted, say with Daemon tools or another image mounting software, you could check this and say where your ISOs are located. So let's say I have it shared on the Z drive. Let's say it's under ISO and it's called mygame.iso. As an alternative to the Z drive, if it's not set up that way, you can do / the name of your server, and that gets you to the same place. You can alternately launch a batch file. So when the game launches, you can make it do something custom or special if you know a little bit of scripting. And so let's say I have a script file, like a batch file. You can put it right here. So let's say I'm going to my server. It's named under batch file category. It's called League of Legends.bat. And in there I could maybe say launch a browser to leagueoflegends.com. So every time I were to launch League of Legends, it would launch leagueoflegends.com because of the bat file attached. But I'm not going to do that. Another important thing too. If your batch file actually launches the executable itself, then you want to make sure this is checked. Otherwise, two games will launch at the same time. And after we enter this, we want to verify paths. And if a PC was online, then it would verify that this path leads to lol.exe and make sure that it's actually there. Okay, just to make sure, I'm going to hit apply. Layout. So this is what the client sees. It can be multiple categories for game modes. So League of Legends multiplayer and online. Homepage, leagueoflegends.com. And for the description, I'm just going to go to leagueoflegends.com or Google or Wikipedia. League of Legends, and let's see what comes up. Google actually comes up with a really nice description automatically on the right side, which is very common for games lately. And this is not very descriptive description, but you can put anything you like. Application image, I could browse, and let's say I search for League of Legends. It could come up here automatically if it exists in the database, and it would pre-fill the image and description for you. But for now, we're going to go to custom image. I have my custom image I just found on Google search. And this is the ideal resolution. So if you want everything looking perfect, you want it to be 103 by 147 pixels. But for now, I'm going to let Smartlaunch resize it automatically. You can see it's a little bit squished because it's not the exact dimensions that it should be. I'm going to accept this for now. Apply. Move on. Okay, and Puf and licensing. This part, we actually have to jump somewhere else. So let's say personal user files, you want to store some screenshots or something from League of Legends, and you want it to load every single time the user launches League of Legends or when he logs in. So his personal settings and configuration, you want it to keep. So this is especially useful for key bindings. Let's say his keys are different than other people. Then this way he doesn't have to customize it every single time he comes in to your cafe. And as for licensing, this is so we can manage the licensing keys for you. You can actually use multiple. Okay, so we jump down to personal user files. Right now it's empty, but let's add. Okay, so you can see right here, if you're doing something with a Steam account, you can actually use the Steam account parameter, like so. But for here, we're doing League of Legends. League of Legends, you call it config, you can call it anything you want to. So, transfer personal user files. You have two options, and they both have the pros and cons. On demand, this means when I launch League of Legends, it's going to pull the personal settings from the server to the client. And this means when you launch, say, League of Legends, then it'll be a little bit slower. But at user login, that means that when you log in, it'll be a little bit slower. But when you launch the game, it'll be speedy because it already has the settings. And so it depends how you feel about that. Types, registry keys, you have the basic roots and the path, but most commonly is going to be files and directories. And so for League of Legends, I'm going to put program files, x86, parameter, Riot, League of Legends, and I believe it's a config folder. And if it's not the config folder, we'll pretend that's the folder I want to share. So I want to share everything in this folder. Exclude files, you can do everything except certain things. So maybe everything except executables, because we just want INI files, screenshots, saves. We don't actually want an executable. Include subfolders, yes, apply. Remember to assign the newly created PUF setup and application. So what this means is it's not assigned. All we did is customize the config, and now we have to attach it. So remember when we went to applications earlier, we made League of Legends an action folder. If we go back to Puf and licensing, this was blank earlier, but now it shows up. So now I check this, apply, and so now every single time the user launches the game, then League of Legends config folder will transfer from the server and back to them. So for select licensing setup, let's say this game used licensing. We want to move out of here one more time. So OK, license management. And so again, right here it's blank to begin with. I'm going to click add. Select application preset. Okay, first of all, we want to see if it's here. For this, let's say I choose Battlefield 1942. It'll automatically fill in the name, and when I click add, I can just type in the key, and everything else it'll do for you in the background. It knows what folder to grab or what registry setting to set. All of this is done for you, so it's really nice. But if it's not there, then it's okay. You can set it up manually. So let's say this is Battlefield 4. So for the type, we have to decide if it's an executable or a registry key. And how do we know this? Well, we have to use Google for this one, or check out the Smartlaunch forums using keywords such as license management, Battlefield 4, keys. So I'll be right back after I do a quick Google search. Okay, so I use the keywords Battlefield 4, license management, Smartlaunch. And I scroll down to the third one, Origin Battlefield 4 auto login. And I came across this post. This is my AutoIt script for Battlefield 4. I use the same for Battlefield 3. So in license management, make an executable script. Okay, already set. And add it under executable path with argument license. And this is very common for the arguments. We can actually use this. It'll queue up all the license keys. And then for the executable path, this is not the executable path, so don't be mistaken by this. All this is just the path to Battlefield 4 itself. And so what we want is an executable path to a batch file. And so let's say I'm going to store it at zbats, and maybe call it bf4.bat. And so inside there, we would use this AutoIt code. We would copy and paste it into the file. I've never actually used AutoIt, so it could be its own file, but most common is a bat file, batch. Okay, so after you have that done, inside the batch file it tells it how to launch, which is what that code is. The license parameter calls a license key from down here. So let's say if you have 5, it's going to change every single time based on if multiple keys are in use or not. Okay, so we go to add key, and we have different types of strings of license keys, but what we're going to do is just a regular license key. So they all look very different. I don't have a specific key to show you, but let's say it's 5555, like that. And if I go here, copy, paste. Okay, so we have 2 license keys right here. So when the first client calls this, the batch file is going to use this key. And when a second computer launches to play at the same time, it'll call this key. And so that's pretty much how the license management works. And of course you can turn it off temporarily if you want to without losing all your changes. Okay, so now that we have the license management set up, we go to applications, we find the game we wanted. This isn't Battlefield 4, but we'll pretend it is. We go to licensing and Battlefield 4, and there you have it. You click apply, and suddenly everything is good. And you have additional settings over here as well. Monitor application process will monitor everything in the Smartlaunch administrator. Wait for process to close. While it's closing, you can launch a batch file or something. Termination handling, automatic is usually what you want. You can manually terminate it as well if you want it to do it something special. I'm not really sure what comes to mind right now, but let's say there's a game that freezes sometimes, and you want to write a batch file to end the task or something. So you could force close it. That's something else as an alternative as well. And if this is a full screen application, you usually want to check it, because sometimes the settings can affect full screen applications. Okay, so apply OK, and now you have a game with licensing and personal user files. For further information, check out our user KB. This can be found from our Smartlaunch website.